Blog Talk Radio.
Bichamo Afurakani Afuraitkaitnit Neye Ujira Da Medinde Ujirapo Kwesi Ra Nehem Pata Akan Aakhuamuman Amaruka Atifi Mu Ojirapo Ojiramai Mu. Greetings to all Afurakani Afuraitkaitnit people, meaning Africans, black people. Today is Ujira Day, Purification Day. My name is Ojirapo Kwesi Ra Nehem Pata Akan. Ojirapo be Aakhuamu Nation in North America. Within Ojiraman, the purified nation, Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people in the Western Hemisphere. Yet I say we thank you once again for tuning into the broadcast. We've opened up the chat room. If you have any questions or comments and you'd like to interact in the chat room, you must log in as a user in order to interact. If you have any questions or comments on the phone line, simply hit the number 1 so that we can see that your hand is raised. We have 4 broadcasts on a weekly basis. We have Akan Fo Nanasom, Ancient Authentic Akan, Ancestral Religion on Jodab Monday nights, where we deal specifically with the Akan expression of Ancestral Religion of Nanasom, first and foremost because we are Akan, secondly because of the misinformation being propagated regarding Akan, Ancestral Religion, culture, cosmology, ritual practice, and so forth, not only from individuals in the Western Hemisphere, but also from those individuals in Afuraitkaitnit who have been forced into pseudo-religion, accepted pseudo-religion such as Christianity, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism, Jainism, and so forth, white culture, and therefore those infections have infected their presentation of Akan Ancestral Religion. So we deal with ancient, authentic Akan Ancestral Religion, which deals with our ancestral origins from ancient Kanat, the Kan land, which is the title of ancient Nubia, our ancestral homeland. Ancient Kanat, or Kan people migrated from ancient Kanat, the Kan land. Ancient Nubians and so forth migrated after the fall of Kemet and northern Kanat, Egypt and northern Nubia, to the western part of the continent 2,000 years ago to reestablish Kanat civilization, or the empire of Ghana. Centuries later, because of invasions, some of our people migrated from those regions further south to the regions of contemporary Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast, and the Republic of Ghana, reestablished our Kana civilization in the forest belt and savanna regions. Hundreds of years later, some of our people were taken from those regions and forced into North, Central, South America, the Caribbean, and Europe during the Musuho Kessier, the Great Controversy, the enslavement era. This is how we ended up as Akan people in the Western Hemisphere. However, we maintained our ancestral religious practices. Akan ancestral religion is called Winti in South America and Suriname amongst the Akan people there. From the Akan term Quinti in Jamaica, Akan ancestral religion is called Obia from the Akan term Obai. In the United States and North America, Akan ancestral religion is called Hoodoo from the Akan term Undu, meaning medicine from roots, trees, plant life, root work. That also means to become heavy with the spirit through spirit possession, spirit communication. We also call the ancestral religion not only Hoodoo from the term Undu, but also Conjure from the Akan term Kanche, which means to utter incantations to bring the spirits forward of the ancestresses and ancestors and deities. We find these same terms, Undu and Kanche, in the language of ancient Kemet and Kanat, with the exact same meanings over thousands of years across 2 continents. Of course, we maintained our ancestral religious practices. We were thus empowered and guided by the Abosom and Nananom Unsamanfo, the deities and our spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors, to wage war against the whites and their offspring, taking up metal armaments, as well as through chemical and biological warfare, root work being the precedent set for chemical and biological warfare being waged in the Western Hemisphere. We utilize these weapons of warfare to wage war against the whites and their offspring and force the end of enslavement through massacring them and incessantly waging war. So we deal with that on Akan Fo Nanasom, Ancient Authentic Akan Ancestral Religion. On Awukuda Kuada Wednesday night, we have Egua Marketplace, where we showcase Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit businesses, organizations, and institutions, those who are serving the Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit community, the African black community, and those who maintain their ancestral religious values in the context of that service. So we showcase business per week. We have our Aakhuamu economic development model, which we have published. You can download that for free. An approach to economic development rooted in our ancestral religious values. That's just a holistic approach to economic development. And you'll see that in that process, we have the Starve the Beast, Feed the Pride operation, where we showcase one business per week, and we starve the beast and feed the pride, make an assessment about what funds we would have potentially wasted with the whites and their offspring, starve the beast and feed the pride, reallocate those funds away from those white businesses and direct them to the business organization or institution of the week. This week is Asase Heals, owned by Ama Asase Ajay. She came onto the show last week, last Awukuda Wednesday, to talk about her business, Asase Heals. That broadcast is on the channel, as well as on our YouTube. You can listen to that entire broadcast. Please support that business. Asase Heals is the Aakhuamu economic development model business of the week. Starve the beast and feed the pride, reallocate those funds away from our enemies directly to one of our businesses that are healing the community. That's healing the community and positively impacting the Afuraitkaitnit community. On Yauda Thursday nights, also called Yada Abada, we have Sim Affairs of the Nation, where we deal with specific issues that confront us as an Oman, as a nation, specifically as ODWIRA Man, the purified ODWIRA Oman Nation. Mine also means land of the west, the setting sun. So ODWIRA Man is the purified nation, Afuraitkaitnit people in the western hemisphere, the land of the setting sun. So because we live in this western region of the Earth Mother's body, we have been directed by the Ancestresses and Ancestors of our blood circles to coalesce in the specific region and blend ancestral blood circles, interface with the manifestation of the Earth Mother divinities in this region of their body, interface with the unique expression of the forces in nature, the Aboso, Marisha, Voodoo, Ntoru, in this region of the Earth Mother's body, take in the plant life, animal life, mineral life for food as well as medicine, in this region of the Earth Mother's body, as well as the sacred animal totems, plant totems, and so forth, mineral totems in this region. That confluence of events has allowed us to forge a locative identity, a unique expression of Afuraitkaitnit culture, ancestral religious practice, and so forth, based on our locative identity, operating in this region of the Earth Mother's body and harmonizing with the forces in nature and the blending of ancestral blood circles, bringing ancestresses and ancestors back into this region. So therefore, we have a unique approach to solving our issues, a unique approach of ancestral religious practice, such as Hoodoo, which is Akan, and Juju, which is Yoruba, and Voodoo, which is Ebe and Fang, and so forth. And we have a unique expression. We understand what a nation is, and Oman is a living, breathing entity, just like an organ, which gives birth to cells. We are the cells within the organal structure, which is the Oman, a nation which is governed by specific forces in creation, Aboso, Marisha, and so forth. When we understand that, we operate interdependently as part of this collective of blended ancestral blood circles, but we also serve the greater organal structure, the nation, the Oman, of which we are a component part, and the deities, the Orisha, the Voodoo, the Abosom, who govern that organal structure, and thus we have a harmonious interaction. So we deal with Amaniye nationism, the purification of nationalism, a nationist approach, an Amaniye approach to solving our issues. That's what we deal with on the Sim Affairs of the Nation broadcast on Yauda Thursday nights. Tonight is Ben Nada, also called Aben Nada, Tuesday night, and we have ODWIRA, which means purification. We deal with ancestral religion in general, not just the Akan expression, but ancestral religion, however it manifests amongst Afuraitkaitnit people, wherever we exist in the world, wherever we have migrated, or wherever we were forced to migrate, and how it impacts every aspect of our lives. Ancestral religion, which we call Nanasom, Afuraitkaitnit, or African ancestral religion, a general term that we use as Nanasom, ancestral religion, in essence is the ritual incorporation of divine law and the ritual restoration of divine balance. That means through ritual, we incorporate those things, objects, deeds, and entities we need to incorporate in order to restore balance to our thoughts, intentions, and actions. And through ritual, we reject those things, objects, deeds, and entities we need to reject in order to restore balance to our thoughts, intentions, and actions, and thus realign ourselves with divine order. So the ritual incorporation of divine law and the ritual restoration of divine balance, these are the expansive and contractive poles of ancestral religion. We state that ODWIRA, purification, operationalizes nanason. Purification operationalizes our ritual practice of incorporating law and restoring balance. So as we seek to execute our function in creation as selves within the great divine body, we seek to align every thought, intention, and action with divine order every moment of every day. That is our approach, our way of life as Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people, the divine acceptance, the law or love of order, and the divine rejection, the hatred, the repulsion of disorder and its purveyors. We accept that which we need to harmonize with order. We reject that which would otherwise place us out of harmony with divine order. That is our culture, our way of life. Ancestral religion allows us, when we make legitimate mistakes, to recalibrate, to ritually incorporate law, ritually restore balance so we can get back on track with executing our function in creation and aligning every thought, intention, and action with divine order every moment of every day. We engage that process through ODWIRA, purification. So this is how ancestral religion impacts every aspect of our lives, and we deal with the purification of concepts, purification of cosmology, purification of the understanding of ancestral religious practice and the nature of the abosom, Orisha Voodoo, Ntoru to divinities, the Akuakutu, the Ancestresses and Ancestors who are spiritually cultivated, Nananon Nsamanfo, Egungun, Kuvito, and so forth in this broadcast. Tonight's broadcast is a special broadcast. It's going to be a little shorter broadcast. Tonight is the first day of our 13-day observance called Apoo in the Akan language, Apoo Afahye, or the Apoo festival and so forth. It is a specific ritual purgative festival, and we celebrate that for 13 days. So when you go to our Apoo page on our website, we'll put the link in the chat room. We'll put the link in the chat room right quick. Okay. For those who are not in the chat room, ojirapo.com/Apoo page, which is APOO page.html. And when you click on that link, you will see information in the first section talking about Apoo Afahye. And this page is dealing with Apoo as well as our ODWIRA celebration. So the ODWIRA celebration is our New Year celebration, which is in September, 7 days leading up to the first day of our New Year, which is the first full day of the purveyors, or the fall-autumn equinox. So from September 16th through the 22nd, or September 17th through the 23rd, those 7 days, depending on the year, those 7 days equal our 7-day New Year observance, and the final day is the first full day of the equinox. That is the first full day of our New Year. Our New Year this year started on September 22nd, the first full day of the fall equinox of the purveyors season, the balancing point, and that was the end of the warm cycle, the harvest cycle, but also the beginning of the seeding cycle, the conception cycle. So the end of one cycle and the beginning of the next, and that seeding or conception time is the beginning of the new year, of our year of 13,018. Of course, we don't track time based on a fictional cartoon character who never existed, Jesus, Isa, Yeshua, and so forth, as well as Muhammad and these other fictional cartoon characters who never existed. So we began our year on September 22nd, 13,018, at the equinox, the balancing point, the first balancing point of the year. And now 6 months later, around March this year, March 20th, is the second balancing point of the year, which is the fefewbere, or the beautiful fefewbere time, which is the spring equinox. That's the second balancing point of the year. The conception time in the fall is the seeding time. It's akin to a seed being placed in the ground, just like the sun setting in the west at the evening point, and then going underground to penetrate underground and enliven the quote-unquote underworld and so forth. That's akin to a seed being planted in the ground. After the harvest period, when the fruits fall off of the tree, and we gather them. That's like the sun setting, and we gather the sun is gathered in the earth and so forth. We gather the fruits of our labor and become fueled by them and empowered by them and nourished by them and so forth, like the sun penetrating the earth. But at the same time, you take the seeds out of the fruit and plant them. That is a conception period. The seed goes down deep into the earth, and then the roots, after germination, the roots go deep down within the earth, go into deep darkness. That's akin to the winter solstice, the darkest time of the year. But then the sprouts begin to move upward, and at some point they break through the surface of the earth and break through that evening point, which is around the spring, fefewbere, and what is manifest above the surface is an indication of what was taking place below the surface. What manifests at the spring equinox is an indication of what has taken place since we seeded at the fall equinox during the 7-day New Year celebration called ODWIRA, which is purification. Then we germinated and we rooted and began to build and so forth and develop. And now we're getting to the point of the warm cycle, the uprise, the breaking through the surface of the earth, and the sprouting season, which is actually next week and so forth. And we begin to see that manifestation of what we were developing during the cool cycle, the introverted cycle, the contemplative cycle, the restoration cycle, and so forth. So once we get to that second balancing point, the sprouting occurs, the breaking through the surface of the earth and so forth, and the sprouts first manifest. It is a time to purge, to ritually cleanse ourselves so we can move into the second half of the year, the warm cycle, clean, purified, realign, and ready to move forward and manifest everything we seeded, we conceived or seeded, germinated, and rooted in the first half of the cool cycle of the year. So this is what Apoo is about. So when you see the page, it says Akan people in the Techimai and Wenchi areas of Ghana, West Afuraitkaitnit, Africa celebrate the festival called Apoo. This festival is also called Aliye in the Sefwi area, including Sefwi Wenchi of Ghana, and is celebrated by the Akanfo of the Asona Abusia or the Asona clan in that region. And we place that information there for a couple of reasons. Number one, all Akan people don't celebrate Apoo. Akan people in the Techimai region and Wenchi areas of Ghana, as well as in the Sefwi area, and it's also celebrated by the Akanfo of the Asona Abusia, the Asona clan in that region, and established by the Asona clan in that region. The reason we place that there is because this is something that our Nanano Nsumanfo, our spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors, directed us to reestablish the Apoo observance, to reestablish that ritual purging, cleansing observance around the spring equinox. In Ghana, in the Techimai region and so forth, it is around April when they celebrate Apoo. Our Nananoman Samanfo directed us to establish that ritual cleansing, purging observance around that's calibrated for us here in the Western Hemisphere around the fefewbere or the spring equinox. So we began to engage that process because we were directed to do so, and we take advantage of the shift in energy that takes place at this second balancing point of the year. It's a natural cycle. It's a very pronounced cycle, especially in the Western Hemisphere, where you may be in Ghana and it's warm throughout the course of the year. When you're living in places like Chicago or Washington, D.C., or different places in North America, there's a great shift between the winter cycle, the winter solstice, and moving towards the spring equinox. Is a great shift in energy. It's very pronounced, and we take advantage of that shift and that surge of warm energy moving forward in that cycle of the year. So our Nananoman Samanfo directed us to engage that process and take advantage of that energy ritually during this time period. We began that process. Then later on, we found out that Akan people in the Techimai region and Wenchi areas and so forth began that process or have that process, and it's laid out in that 13-day cycle. Our Samanfo directed us prior to us learning about Akan people engaging in that process because it's an ancestral memory. They directed us to do so. The only difference is ours is calibrated towards the spring equinox, whereas in Ghana, it's around April, a little bit after the spring equinox. And that's, of course, based on we are in the Western Hemisphere. This region of the Earth Mother's body is different than the region, of course, in the Eastern Hemisphere. So we acclimate ourselves to the nature of the Asase Afua and Asase Ya, the Earth Mother divinities, in this region of their body, and we operate based on that reality. So when we're talking about establishing culture, recreating culture, and so forth, we are Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people. We are children of Ra and Ra'et. We operate on Asase Afua and Asase Ya, the Earth Mother divinity's body. So therefore, we do what we need to do, whether it's plant life, animal life, mineral life, for food, as well as medicine, based on where we are, and we establish those specific and unique cultural expressions based on the reality within which we find ourselves. We don't simply just imitate people to pretend like we're African. We're Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people by nature, because we are children of Afura and Afuraet. Our souls, our Ka and Kayat, come from the great Ka and Kayat. Our Ba and Ba'at, our divine living spirits, come from the great Ba, the great spirit, the great Ba'at, who is Ra and Ra'et. So we are by nature Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people. We're operating in a specific region of the Earth Mother's bodies, and therefore our culture is a manifestation of that reality. So when they directed us to calibrate that purging, ritual cleansing, ritual process and observance during this time of the year, that was part of an ancestral memory, an ancestral obligation, an ancestral mandate to take advantage of that shift, take advantage of this cycle, and purify our mind, our community. So Aakhuamuman Amaruka Atifi Mu, the Aakhuamu Nation in North America. Of course, Aakhuamu is a subgroup of the larger Akan ethnic group on the continent, of course, the same as here. We reestablished that. And then we found out later that we were simply doing what Akan people from our specific clans have been doing for hundreds of years on the continent. Then we found out, of course, and we included this information about the Akanfo in the Sefwi-Wenchi area of Ghana, specifically the Asona Abusia, the Asona clan in that region. They're the ones who reestablished that same festival. They refer to it as Aliyeh, but that same festival in that region where some of the other Akan clans had not been engaged in that process. That is significant that the Asona clan are the ones who reestablished that and perpetuated that ritual cleansing around this time of the year, because I am of the Asona Abusia, the Asona clan, and so forth, and my Asona Nanano Nsamanfo directed me to reestablish, in context with the Aakhuamuman Amaruka Atifi Mu, the Aakhuamu Nation in North America, an Asona clan member is directed by Asona clan Ancestresses and Ancestors to reestablish Apoo, this festival at this time of the year. And we found out years later that the Asona clan on the continent in that specific region of Ghana is the specific clan that perpetuated that same festival, while some of the other Akan clans had fallen away from that. So it's a mirror of what we're doing naturally over here that we find out later it has been going on over there. That's just a confirmation of our continuity, our cultural continuity, our cosmological continuity, our ritual continuity, and so forth. So we observe Apoo Afahye for 13 days from March 12th through the 24th, or March 13th through the 25th, depending upon the year. This year, March 13th through March 25th, and of course, today is the first day. Of course, as you see on the website, no non-Afurakani, non-Afuraitkaitnit, non-African, non-Black individual or group can be part of nor participate in an Apoo observance, nor any other Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit, African ancestral religious observance for that matter. Of course, we need to state that because some Negroes here in the Western Hemisphere, as well as some brainwashed Negroes on the continent, seek to incorporate pollutants, incorporate spirits of disorder, incorporate the Achiwadiefo, the spirits of disorder, the whites and their offspring. They seek to incorporate them, no different than some people foolishly seek to incorporate white substances in their bodies, crack cocaine, heroin, and so forth. And whenever you incorporate a white substance in your body. It disrupts the natural functioning of the cells and creates disease within the body until you purge that white perversity out. So of course we have to show that while some Negroes engage in self-destructive behavior, in reality, the spirits of disorder have no capacity to engage in any ancestral religious practice at all. Now, ritually, in Aakhuamuman Amaruka Atifi Mu, the Aakhuamu Nation in North America, and those other nations within North America, like the Fanti Nation in North America, Asante Nation in North America, those of us who have reconstituted ourselves and reconstituted our musia, our clans and so forth, ritually, during Apoo, this 13-day observance, it includes the execution of Okra or Ogware Nokra, soul washing. So we typically engage that process every 7 days. The day of the week upon which we came into the world is our Krada or soul day. That is the day governed by the divinity who animates the solar, lunar, or planetary body that governs that particular day. So if you're born on Benada and you're a male, the divinity animating the planet Benna or Abena, the male divinity is Benna, the female divinity is Abena. That is, in ancient Kemet, that is Heru Beda or Heru Benna, also called Heru Behudet or Behudat and so forth, called Sekmet, the female divinity, Sechima. In Akan, there are Benna and Abena. In Yoruba, that is Ogun and Iyami Abeni. In Voodoo, that's Ogu and Ananu and so forth. So if you're a male born on Benada, that means you're born on the day, the Da of Benna. If you're a male, the day or Da of Abena. If you're female, your Kra, your Okrawa, your soul, the divinity in your head region is governed by the energy of Benna if you're a male, or Abena if you're a female. So you're a Kwa Benna. If you're a male, that's your soul name, your Kradin. You're an Abena. If you're a female, that means you carry the energy. Your soul is a child of the great divinity Benna or Abena, and you're named after these divinities and so forth. Your Kradin, the soul name. So that day of the week, Benada or Abenada, is your soul day or your Krada. That's the day of the week that divinity's energy is prominent, bathing the earth. So on that particular day, you engage the ritual Akragware or soul washing ritual to purify your head and so forth. You do that on a weekly basis, on average on a weekly basis. Sometimes during other periods it may be more frequent, but typically on a weekly basis. And whatever day of the week you're born on, you acknowledge and align with that divinity of that day of the week and engage the Akragware ceremony on a weekly basis. During Apoo, however, during our 13-day festival, the first 7 days, as we say, the first 7 days leading up to the first day of fefewbere, the spring equinox, we engage the Aakhuamuman ritual every single day for 7 days. So we'll be starting today, which is Benada this year. Apoo starts on Benada. Each year, it'll shift from one day to the next. But starting today, the 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th, 7 days in a row, we're engaging the Aakhuamuman ritual practice as opposed to simply once a week. And then on that 8th day, which would be the return to Benada once again, that is the spring equinox day. So you see, we say for 7 days we engage the Aakhuamuman soul washing for 7 days leading up to the first day of spring equinox, followed by offerings to the Nanano Nsamanfo, spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors at our shrines, of course, and to Asase Afua and Asase Ya, the two earth mother divinities. Asase Afua, the fertile earth. Asase Ya, the quote-unquote barren earth, the stern judge and so forth, the one who receives our physical bodies, corpses and so forth when it's time to make transition to regenerate those physical vessels and so forth. So you have Asase Afua and Asase Ya, the two earth mother divinities, just like you have Onile, the fertile earth mother divinity, and then you have Yewa, these two mother divinities, and Yewa deals with the cemeteries and corpses and so forth in the Yoruba tradition. These are the same divinities, Asase Nebedetepet and Asase Nebepet in ancient Kemet, wives of Atem and Kepra. Asase Nebedetepet becomes Asase Afu and Akan. Asase Nebepet becomes Asase Ya and Akan, same divinities. It's Onile and Yewa in Yoruba and so forth. So those two Earth Mother Abos on this who we're talking about on the page. We talk about individual and communal purging, purification, inclusive of specific dietary observances, fasting, cleansing are observed. We talk about our Bo Ankwa ritual movement, which we've done a broadcast on that, which these ritual cleansings serve to recalibrate the Almighty, the Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit, or African nation community, that we may enter the second half of our year with a purified and unified focus, having reaffirmed the 7 root mbe, or proverbs and divine ancestral wisdom teachings, which we seeded during our ODWIRA observance, our New Year observance at the beginning of the year. When we talk about the 7 root mbe, what we're talking about is our 7-day New Year observance. Each one of the 7 days is governed by the solar, lunar, and planetary bodies that govern 7-day week and the abosom that govern them. But we also have 7 mbe divine wisdom teachings that encompass a body of wisdom connected to each one of those 7 days and those deities that govern those 7 days and so forth. Each day of the week during our 7-day New Year observance in September, there's an ebe, or divine wisdom teaching, that we focus on, as well as invoking the divinities that govern that day and the ancestresses and ancestors and so forth. Those 7 ancestral wisdom teachings that stream from the deities that govern the 7 days of the week, that empower us, we reaffirm them at this point of the year, the balancing point, as we purge ourselves from any debris that we brought from the previous 6 months and we move into the next 6 months, the warm cycle. We purge ourselves from that. It's no different than cleansing yourself in the morning and so forth, going throughout the course of the day. At nighttime, when you're about to go to sleep, of course, you cleanse yourself, shower, bathe, and so forth. But then when you wake up in the morning, you cleanse yourself so you can go into the warm part of the day, the active part of the day, clean. You purify yourself and move forward clean, purifying any negativity that may have manifested during the dream state or the previous day and so forth, and moving forward clean into the productive part of the day and so forth. So it's no different here. So we move into the second half of our year with a purified and unified focus, having reaffirmed the 7 root mbe, and we have that on the website, which we seeded during the 7-day cycle in September, at the beginning of the year. As the Adenane, the balance of the body of Asase, Afu, and Asase, the Earth Mother divinities, is renewed at this time of the year, because it's a balancing point, moving it from the cool cycle to the warm cycle. We move to that balancing point, the equinox, equal days and equal nights and so forth. So do we renew the balance within our physical, spiritual, and communal bodies during this time as Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit people. It is also during this time of near the equinox that we have our AKYISAN, Afurakani, Afuraitkaitnit African Ancestral Religious Reversion Conference. And this is why we place it around the equinox. It's time for reversion, returning to our original pristine state, returning to that ancestral religious tradition that was preserved in our blood circles intergenerationally and transcarnationally through successive reincarnations. When we were forced into the Western Hemisphere hundreds of years ago, the manner in which we practice ancestral religion at that point when we were taken away from the continent 300 years ago, that pristine culture was time-stamped. It was fossilized in our bones and blood at that moment, and that is the culture that we have passed down intergenerationally and transcarnationally in the Western Hemisphere ever since we've been here. This is the culture that we have received directly from our grandmothers, grandfathers, great-grandmothers, great-grandfathers, ancestresses and ancestors who are spiritually cultivated. Whatever happened on the continent over the past 300 years since we left, people becoming infected with Christianity, Islam, white culture, and so forth, we were already gone when those things took place. When we left, we were still practicing ancestral religion in its pure foundation. It is that pure culture that we passed down and that we've inherited. This is Hoodoo, Akan ancestral religion, Juju, Yoruba ancestral religion, Voodoo, Ebe and Fang ancestral religion, Grigri, Bambara, Mindi ancestral religion, Wanga, Ovambo ancestral religion, Ngengang and Ngengang, Fang and Bakongo ancestral religion, and so forth. These various traditions, Gola and Kisi ancestral religion, becoming Gullah and Geechee and so forth. These are the traditions we pass down, full, intact, healers, healeresses, root work, conjure, ritual medicine and so forth, spirit possession, full priestesses, priests, priesthoods, priestesshoods, everything intact. Divination practices and so forth, ritual song, ritual dance, ritual prayer. These things have been maintained in our blood circles, and we deal with that in our AKYISAN Ancestral Religious Reversion Conference. And of course, it's all connected to this particular time of the year, all based on that balancing point and so forth. When you look on the link for the Wabo Jida link that we mentioned, dealing with those 7 Mbe or proverbs that we reaffirm, you can look at that link on the webpage. On the Wabo Jida webpage, you see a link there in the piece. Okay, so let me see. Oh, we saw a message in the chat room. Okay, so we see that. We saw that message. All right. So now so that's what Apoo is about. So when you look in the Okra complex, the soul of Akanfo, that book, one of our 29 books, you will see in the back of the book. So the Okra complex talks about the soul, the Ka, as it's called in ancient Kemet, the Krawa called in Akan, the Odori Inu, in the Yoruba tradition, the inner spiritual head, the Chi and Igbo and Selido and Vodun. This is the soul, the divinity dwelling in the head region, male divinity if you're male, a female divinity if you're female, that guides you throughout the course of your life as your spirit's brain. Our book, the Okra complex, the soul of Akanfo, talks about the nature and function of the soul and the fourfold division of that divinity in the head region. It's a unique book, one of its kind and so forth, the only of its kind. In the latter portion of the book, we talk about the Akraguare, or the soul washing ritual component and so forth, so we go into some detail about that from the Akan perspective, but even from just a general perspective. It's not just Akan, but all Afuraitkaitnit people have some form of ritual practice where they align ritually, cleanse their heads, and align ritually with the divinity that guides them. For us, we have a unique approach to that. We have a 7-day week. We have a compact that we made with the Abosom that they send us into the world on specific day as an indication to our community who we were assigned to pre-incarnation. So it's ensured that we are born on that day. No matter what happens with regard to complications in pregnancy and so forth, we are going to be born on the day that's associated and aligned with the deity that we were assigned pre-incarnation. So we end up coming out of the womb on that day to indicate to the community who we are. So we have that compact of Akan people with those divinities. That's how we do it. Every group has their own relationship with the same forces in nature, and they have their own specific, unique expression of how to align with the force in nature that governs their head. But we do it on those, based on the 7-day week and so forth. So we engage that ritual cleansing process for 7 days. Even if you're not Akan, if you're Yoruba, and you cleanse your Ori, Inu for 7 days, or if you're Ebe or Fang, and you learn about that, and you find out that Voodoo was in your family for hundreds of years, and you're in the Ebe clan or Fang great ancestral clan and so forth, and you cleanse your Selido for 7 days, or if you find out you're Igbo and you cleanse your Chi, the divinity in your head, for 7 days, we are all on the same page. So we engage that process. For children, we don't recommend the fasting piece for children, but we do engage in the fasting during this time very often on the day of the fefewbere, or the equinox. So you have 7 days of ritual cleansing. The 8th day is the return to the original day. You start off on Benada this year. 7 days of cleansing through Jodah, which is Monday, and then the following Benada, Tuesday, is the 8th day. That's also the day of the equinox. That's a day of fasting and so forth. And then we have offerings to the Nananoma and Samafo, the spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors, Asase Afu and Asase Ya, at our shrines, but you can also do that out in nature as well. And then we have our AKYISAN Ancestral Religious Reversion Conference. So when you go to our AKYISAN page on the website, just so we can, those who are new to this information, we'll put the link for AKYISAN in the chat room. Give me 1 second. Okay. So what you'll find is Echi means back. Sign means return. So AKYISAN means to return back. AKYISAN in the context of ancestral religion defines the process of what we call reversion, meaning returning back or reverting to our pristine state or condition. AKYISAN is a movement. There's a movement of our people here in the Western Hemisphere reintroducing themselves or reverting or engaging in reversion, ancestral religious reversion, returning back to those original expressions of ancestral religion born of our blood circles and preserved in our blood circles in the Western Hemisphere after we were forced to migrate during the Musuo Kessie, the Great Perversity, the enslavement era. We are not dependent on anyone outside of our direct ancestral blood circle for our ancestral religious practice. No one, for example, in Ghana, no Akan person, no Akan priest or priestess in Ghana can come to North America and initiate an Akan person in North America into the Hoodoo tradition. They can initiate you into being a Hoodoo man or a Hoodoo woman, a root worker, a root doctor, a root man, or root woman. Hoodoo is Akan ancestral religion. We've been engaged in these practices for hundreds of years. We have our own priests and priestesses, the Hoodoo man, Hoodoo woman, conjure woman, or Kanche man, Kanche woman, the root worker, root doctor, and so forth. We've had these traditions, the diviners and so forth, where we're using water gazing or cockle shells, which are seashells and so forth, these various forms of divination. We've had this for hundreds of years. The spirits possess our people of our direct ancestresses and ancestors. The abosom, the forces in nature, possess our people. When you have spirit possession and spirit communication, then you have ancestral religion in its fullness, because the forces in nature that regulate all of creation, the embodiments of divine order in creation, when they possess us and bring that ordered movement into our lives, then we're aligning our thoughts, intentions, and actions with the forces in nature and therefore with the Supreme Being. When our ancestresses and ancestors of our direct blood circles, they not only go back a few hundred years, but go back thousands of years and millions, we're directly descendant of them. When we communicate directly with them and they show us what plant life, animal life, mineral life to align ourselves with, what time of the year to pick certain plants in this region of the Earth Mother for medicine, for healing, for protection, for defense, and so forth. We have our full ancestral religious practice. So we're not dependent on going to anyone outside of our direct ancestral blood circle for our full ancestral religious practice. No Yoruba person can initiate Juju man or Juju woman in North America who's been practicing Juju, which is the Yoruba tradition, for hundreds of years. No Fang or Ede person from the continent can come and initiate somebody into Voodoo in Louisiana when they've been practicing Voodoo for hundreds of years and passing that down through their ancestral blood circles. The divination practices that we've been utilizing, for example, utilizing possum bones for divination in the Hoodoo tradition in North America. There are no possums in West Afuraitkaitnit. No Akan, Okomfo, or Abosomfo can come over here and teach us how to use possum bones for divination. We can teach them and initiate them into that and into our priesthood and priestesshood, but they cannot initiate us. So our priesthoods and priestesses are just as effective and on the same level, and our divinatory practices are just as effective and on the same level as any priesthood, priestesshood, or divinatory practice anywhere on the continent of Afuraitkaitnit, because we descend from the same ancestresses and ancestors. We are simply in a different region of the Earth Mother, and we have to acclimate ourselves to this region of the Earth Mother. So this is what AKYISAN is about, Ancestral Religious Reversion. So we have our presentations. This is our third annual conference coming up the weekend of March 24th here in Washington, D.C. Of course, this conference is a free event, as all of our events, our conferences, and our lectures and presentations that we do around the country are free. This is a free event. We will be giving away a free copy of our new book, AKYISAN, Ancestral Religious Reversion, the third volume, as we do at all of our conferences and events. Whenever we do a presentation in any city, whether it's a singular presentation or our 3 annual conferences here in D.C., we always give a free copy of the book we're speaking on to all attendees. Attendees come for free. They also receive a free book when they come. So they walk away with a free book, and of course the presentation is free. We've given away nearly 2,000 soft cover versions of our books at different presentations in different parts of the country. So of course, once again, this is what will be taking place. We will be presenting on the Hoodoo tradition, Akan ancestral religion in North America. We will have Voodoo Queen Kalinda Laveau out of New Orleans presenting on the Voodoo tradition, born of the blood circles and preserved in the blood circles of our ancestresses and ancestors in Louisiana prior to the Haitian migration into Louisiana. Over 100 years prior to that, Voodoo, of course, was already in Louisiana. It's not born of any Haitian migration. It's born of people who were forced into this hemisphere who carried the Voodoo in their blood circles, so she'll be dealing with that. We have our sister Wakili Oyinola dealing with the Juju tradition, the Yoruba tradition, preserved in the blood circles of our people here in North America for hundreds of years. She'll be dealing with that divinatory practice maintained in her blood circle as well. So we'll have these presentations. We'll also have our Egua marketplace vendors, including vegan food vendor and so forth, our Egua marketplace vendors, so you can shop with the vendors and so forth, starve the beast and feed the pride, of course. So that will be taking place on the weekend of March 24th. As we mentioned in our previous broadcast, we had to switch venues because of an increased cost and so forth. So because we had to switch venues, we are actually waiting to hear back from the confirmation of this particular venue that we switched to, which we should be hearing back early in the morning. We submitted that application and so forth. So they responded to us, but then they're going to respond. It should be in the morning and so forth. So we'll be able to update you hopefully by tomorrow evening on the show tomorrow evening with regard to the different venue. But we also, because of that process, because of that increased cost, as well as the contributing to the expenses for our out-of-town presenters, we have established our fundraising or crowdfunding campaign. This is the first time in 3 years that we established a crowdfunding campaign for our conferences. We normally just, of course, cover all of the expenses, and it's a free event for everyone. Everyone receives a free book. This time, because of the increased cost, we have a fundraising or crowdfunding effort. If you contribute to the AKYISAN Ancestral Religious Reversion Conference crowdfund, you will receive a copy of our new AKYISAN book that will be released on the day of the conference. And of course, it'll be available online after that, the ebook version as well as the softcover version, but you'll receive a softcover version for your contribution. We need to raise those funds as soon as possible because, of course, we only have basically a week and a half. So we'll be getting that confirmation hopefully tomorrow morning with the new venue, and we need to deal with these increased expenses for the free event. So we want to say, Yedase, first of all, thank you to those individuals who have contributed to the AKYISAN crowd fund. Remember to send us your mailing address So once the book comes out next week, we can send the new book out to you. So yet I'll say for those who have contributed, and for those who have never had a chance to contribute to our work, but if you've downloaded any of our 29 books, and if it has actually benefited you in some fashion, or those connected to you in some fashion, or if you listen to one of these 321 broadcasts and they have benefited you in some fashion, then please contribute to our effort. We need to raise those funds, as we said, ASAP, as soon as possible. Fundraiser.com, FUNDRAISER.com/@_reversion. And you'll see we have that link on our webpage, the AKYISAN page, on our Facebook page, and so forth. We have the AKYISAN page on the business page or event page on Facebook as well. So you'll find that link on those different pages. Tonight was just a special broadcast because we simply wanted to touch on, this is the first night of Apoo. Very often during the Apoo observance, we would take those 13 days off from broadcasting, but we did want to, since this is the first night, to let people know this is our 13-day observance. And then even if you're not in the Akan tradition, this time of the year is still the balancing point of the year. So depending on how you are moved by your own Krawa soul, divine consciousness, and your Nsamanfo, very often us here in the Western Hemisphere, we do something purificatory or ritually purging around this time of the spring equinox, even on a mundane level, when people are growing up and they know you have spring break and so forth. Sometimes people will call it cleanup week, and parents would have children cleaning up the house and doing extra cleaning and so forth. That cleaning, this purification, this ritual, this purging and so forth, because it's time for the sprouts to come, a new beginning and so forth. We want to move into this warm cycle in a purified fashion and purging that which is, needs to be left behind, purging that debris. And you can tell the difference, the shift in energy. We want to take advantage of that when we draw this energy in ritually through our ritual observances for that purification. It's an abundance of energy manifesting at this time. It behooves us to take advantage of this abundance and this surge of energy around that balancing point. And you can actually perceive and feel the shift during this particular time as the Earth Mother goes through these cycles. So we just wanted to touch on that tonight. This is a short broadcast we wanted to touch on. We can take a couple of phone calls, or we have one phone call. We're going to actually end at 10:30 tonight, so we have about 8 minutes. So we'll take a phone call right quick. If you have on the phone line, number 3558, you had a question or a comment? Number 3558 on the phone line, you had a question or a comment? Okay, we're going to take one more call.
Yes. Hello?
If you have on the phone line, number 5833, you had a question or a comment?
Yes, I did have a question or comment. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Can you?
Yes, I can hear you now.
I'm new to your platform and how you're blending all the spiritualities and coming under one clan and all the blood circles and blending everything together. My question is, if I was initiated under a Kemetic path, but I'm seeing all the similarities of all the other clan groups you're talking about, how do I incorporate the practices that I already do with what you're teaching? Like, it's all one, but how do I simplify it?
Okay, and that's a very good question. So we would say two things. One of the books, and you can, of course, all of the ebook versions of our publications are free downloads. So there's one particular book called Kemet, Hina, Ntoro, the Black Nation and Divinity. And we talk about the term Kemet and its etymology and cosmology and how it's shown in the Akan language and so forth, and the same term for Ntoro, which is often pronounced nectar, but it's Ntoro, still vocalized in Akan tradition, as well as the Fang language, Torowo, and so forth. So we talk about that, and we talk about, that cosmological foundation. But this is what we always recommend. So our people originated from those different, in that region of ancient Kanat, Kemet, tens of thousands of years ago. We're not just talking about the first dynasty or pre-dynastic. We're talking about tens of thousands of years ago, our people were in these regions. And then at some point we began to migrate out. We were in different clans, ethnic groups, even there in ancient Kemet. Just like in Ghana, you have Akan people, you also have Ebe people, you have Gas people, you have Hausa people, you have different groups, but they all call themselves Ghanaians. But based on their clans, based on the places that they moved to, some people moved to a riverine area. They dealt with the major riverine divinities in that area. Some people moved to a mountainous region. Some people moved to a forest region. Some people moved to a savanna region. Some people moved to an area where it was kind of arid and desert, as well as some fertile land and so forth. That affects our physiology. That affects our dietary practices. That affects even the way we speak, our languages, our dialect. Just like it's no different than in North America. People in the south and warmer regions that have a slower speech, a southern drawl, so to speak. People in colder regions like in New York and Maine and other places, they speak a little bit faster, a little bit more abrasive, acerbic, and so forth, based on their energy complex, moving faster in cooler areas, moving slower in warmer areas, and so forth. That affects the dialect. Correct. And the same thing when we move to different parts of the Earth Mother, depending on where we are, that affects our dialect. We're in a forest region like the Twa people, and they take on the nuances and the sounds of the forest. Their dialect is slightly different because they blend in with the energy complex of that region. So that accounts for the slight variations and differences, whether it's food, ritual practice, the way we express ourselves in clothing, ritual song, ritual dance. There are variations, and those variations are important, no different than, your children one may be allergic to certain foods and the other one isn't. So you have to acknowledge those differences, because if you give all of them the same food just based on the fact that they're all your children, one of them will get sick and the other one won't. So when you know that there are differences, you honor differences and acknowledge them. The same is true when we migrate to different areas.
Okay, I was given the name I wanted to ask a question. I was given the name segment at my initiation, and I heard you bring that particular Taru up. So how does that associate with the 13-day ceremony that you're observing?
Okay, so Sekhmet, she's called Sekhmet in ancient Kemet, pronounced also Setchima in ancient Kemet. She's also called Setchima in Akan. She's called Iyami Abini in the Yoruba tradition. She's a force of nature, and every Afuraitkaitnit person, no matter where they exist in the world, they are connected to her because she's a major force in creation. And we have different titles and names for her, but we all have our own way of aligning with her. So what we would say is, because we know that even though we are from the same area, but we move to different places and have different experiences and different religious and cultural expressions, first you establish a relationship, a strong relationship with your direct blood ancestresses and ancestors. Some you know their names, but some you don't. Some go back hundreds of years, thousands of years, but they're your direct, spiritually cultivated ancestresses and ancestors. In ancient Kemet, they'll call them the Akutu, which means the illuminated ones, or the Shepsu, Shepsitu, the venerable ones, and so forth. These are just titles of them. But you establish a relationship with them, and that includes the ones from ancient Khanid and Kemet, Nubian Kemet. They will direct you as to your ancestral clan. They will direct you as to if you're Yoruba, if you're Fang, if you're Eve, if you're Fang. They will direct you to that. Okay. So dealing with the culture of ancient Kemet, all of us have those ancestresses and ancestors, but once we left, we, manifested our own culture in certain ways. So when you deal with them directly, they will direct you as to the manner in which, you would approach, that ritual cleansing. If you're Yoruba, which is Juju in North America, and you call Sekhmet Iyami Abeni, it may be one particular day, because Yoruba have a 5-day inclusive week. It may be one particular day within that 5-day cycle that you would, deal with Iyami Abeni based on the fact that you're Juju or Yoruba person, whereas somebody else who's Akan, it may be a different day of the week and it may be a different observance. We're doing similar things, but it's based on our unique clan structure.
Okay, so
does that
my
make
question,
sense?
So yes, that makes plenty of sense. And this is my last question. As I continue to educate myself more on African spirituality and realizing that I was drawn to the Yoruba tradition, and I started learning about the Imani Eje. So Imani Eje is also a form of segment or the same force, same, they call it the mothers, but I was like, that's the same, that's an equivalent of the same energy. And they just have different names of the same force, right?
You're talking about the Iyami, right?
Yes. And that's when I started to understand way more when I started to honor them. When I started honoring the Imani Eje, or I believe that's how it's said, then I started to understand why I got the name Sekhmet and Semitic. It started to make sense.
Exactly. Right. So every group, you'll see that whether it's Akan, Yoruba, whatever it is, they deal with, specific mother divinities that are powerful and deal with justice and purification as well as, destroying the enemy and so forth. So
correct.
The Iyami just means my mother's. Another title that they use for the Iyami, they'll say the Ajay, and then they'll combine Iyami Ajay. But this is that collective of feminine divine forces in creation, and they'll call Azay in Vodun as well and so forth. So yes, so Iyami Abeni means the divinity Abeni, who is also a Iyami. That is actually Sekhmet. She's also called Idan and Ajibola in the Yoruba tradition, but that is Sekhmet. She's called Iyami Abeni. In Akan, she's called Abena, but she's also called Setchima in Akan, and she's called Ananu in Vodun, but it's the same force in creation.
Do you have a book on that? Because that's kind of where I want to go to what I'm already being. I'm led that way, and you are explaining it to the point where it's like, do you have a book on that?
Well, actually,
you guys have
the third volume. Well,
Volume
the third volume of our Aakhuadim Bosom series will be dealing with Abena, which is Sekhmet, and Bena is going to be coming out soon. But the original article is like a 13-page article when we're talking about her.
That's
Sekhmet.
Okay. I love to read.
That's on the webpage. That's on the Aakhuadim Bosom webpage on our website. You can download that, and we've done a few broadcasts on her to go into some detail about her. So send me an email.
Can you drop one Can you put one in the chat for me?
Oh yeah, I can put that link in the chat right
Please.
now. So what it is you'll see.
Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
I have no more questions. You have helped me greatly.
Okay, Mirase, we appreciate the call.
Thank you.
No problem. Heads up. Okay, so we just put the link in the chat room. So the Aakhuadim Bosom page, Aakhuadim Bosom, Adia Bosom, the deities that govern the solar, lunar, and planetary bodies that govern the 7-day week in Akan culture. You will see on that page a number of articles that deal with each one of those deities of the 7 days of the week, but we also have a chart showing their correspondences in Akan, in Yoruba, in Ebe, and in ancient Kemet and Kanat, their names. So You'll see Sekhmet in ancient Kemet, Abena in Akan, Iyami, Abeni in Yoruba, Ananu in Voodoo, and so forth. So we have a chart showing that, but then we also have an article on each one of these divinities. You'll see Sekhmet or Abena, who's called Sekhmet. There's an article for her. We go into details, like a 13-page article. The book, which is volume 3 of our Akaradim Bosom series, will be dealing with her, Abena, as well as the male deity Bena, who is Ogun or Heru Behudet, and it will be going in great detail, much more detail than you find in the article, greatly expanding upon that. And that's the next book coming out. We have volumes 1 and 2. That's volume 3. It'll be coming out very soon. But you can read that article, and then you'll also see that we have done some broadcasts on Sekhmet Abena, where we go into detail about what's in the article with some additional information. We've done a couple of broadcasts on her, one on the Ustream broadcast. You'll see that, the Ustream video broadcast, and then we also did one on Blog Talk Radio. We used to broadcast on Ustream, so you see that broadcast for Abena Sekhmet, and then we did one on Blog Talk Radio a while back, and you see that as well. Okay, so, all right, so it's a little bit over time. Again, this is a short broadcast. We just wanted to let everyone know that this is the first day of Apoo Afahye, our 13-day observance. You can start that process or consult with your Nsamanfo, your Egungun, Kuvita, and so forth to see how you should be naturally drawn to deal with this time of the year, the balancing point. It may be that you deal with soul washing, cleansing 7 days, starting with the day, or maybe just one day. It depends on, how your Nsamanfo, your ancestresses and ancestors direct you and draw you and so forth. So whatever way they direct you, however you're drawn or inclined, then that's the approach that you use. So, but once again, we should have hopefully that update by either tomorrow morning or the afternoon, or at least by tomorrow evening, depending on when the people get back with us. But in the meantime, we're raising funds to cover these additional expenses for this free event. So please go to the AKYISAN link. We'll put that link in the chat room right now, just so people can see our crowdfunding page for our conference. The conference is coming up on the March 24th, 25th weekend. We had to put it on the weekend of March 24th, 25th so that people who were coming from out of town would know to block off that weekend. We had to determine whether it's going to be that Saturday or that Sunday. It's not going to be both days. It's going to be one or the other day. If we get this particular venue, it will be on that Sunday, the 25th. If it's the other venue, it will be the 24th, but it's going to be that weekend. So, and we should have the updates hopefully by tomorrow, be able to lock everything down because of this switch that we had to do. So please go to the AKYISAN Reversion crowdfunding page and assist us in that effort. And Yedase, once again, thank you to those who have contributed so far. That's been a great help to what we are doing. And if you have any other questions, just hit us up on Facebook, Kwesi Akan on Facebook, Ojirafo Akan on Facebook, Ojirafo on Instagram, Ojirafo on Twitter, Ojirafo on YouTube as well. So once again, Yedase, we thank you for tuning into the broadcast, and Yebe Shabil, we will meet again. That's up.